let's have a cup of tea.
Good morning guys, and welcome to another video. So today we are here with Ollie's Seat Ibiza and my MX-5. Ollie, you might remember we did a video with his car with the disc and pad change. It went a bit wrong because we didn't have the right parts, but I absolutely love this car. It's a 1.4 TSI, it's a dual clutch gearbox, a DSG, and I think it would make a brilliant track car with a bit of interior work. I'm actually thinking about maybe swapping it with the MX-5 for some track work. So what I'm going to try and find out today is this car better than this car as a track toy? I'm going to drive it, Ollie's going to drive the MX-5, and we're going to try and come up with some sort of conclusion as to which would be the better track toy. So first things first, let's have a look under the bonnet because engine's the most important thing. And I like them. This car is a TSI 1.4 petrol, it's front wheel drive. There's quite a lot of technology in this very small car. It makes quite a lot of power for the size of engine it is. It's a 1.4 and it makes 150 brake horsepower, well 150 PS, 148 brake horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque. So it's got quite a lot of pull for such a small car. I think it's about 7.6 to 60, something like that. The turbo's right at the front, which is, I think, quite a good place for it. If you look in my Golf, it's right back down here, so the cooling air can get to the front of it. With the TSI technology that's in it, you get about 100 bar of pressure, fuel pressure, that's going straight into the cylinder, which is, you know, a serious amount of pressure. This is injecting fuel at about 1450 PSI. It's a pretty cool engine technology. This one also sounds really good. Obviously it's transversely mounted and the gearbox is just there, which I think is also really cool. It's such a small space to get a 7-speed dual clutch in. It's like a super mini sized car, but with big car technologies in it. So one thing that Ollie has mentioned is the car has slightly high oil consumption. They are actually renowned for it. The 1.4 TSI is bad for it. Even worse is the 1.4 twin charge TSI that they fitted to the Audi A1 and the Volkswagen Blue GT. They had 185 horsepower but used even more oil than these, and it's ultimately why they got replaced by the 1.8. So looking at tyres, these are fitted with a 215/45/16. This is obviously a 16-inch wheel. When Ollie's gone to get tyres on these, he says that it's slightly more difficult to get a 16-inch tyre because most of these cars are fitted with 17-inch tyres. The Mazda is a 205/45/17, so a taller tyre, but 10mm less contact patch, and I still manage to slide that quite often. So they're both a 45 sidewall, which means they'll both roll about the same amount. So yeah, there's pros and cons. Brake discs are actually quite big for this car. You can see the calipers obviously very close to the rim. That might be why some of the cars are fitted with 17, so they can get bigger brakes on them. These are vented brakes. They're not drilled or slotted, but they are vented. Seeing as I did the brakes, I'm sure they stop pretty good. This car weighs 1,254 kilograms, which is actually pretty light. Mine is 1,050 kilograms. Obviously it's got no roof, so it's a bit lighter. As far as weight goes, quite a light car, which is what you want for a track. The only way I can see of making this lighter would be wheels, taking the glass out and stripping the interior. And I think if you did those three things, you would probably hit a weight of an MX-5. So I reckon you could get this around a ton, 1,100 kilos quite easily. So down at the rear of the car, I think this car actually looks really quite cool. It's a bit boy racery in a way, but I quite like that. It's got twin exhaust pipes, which is good. Now this car, we don't think has got a standard exhaust. I think it's got a res delete in it because it does sound a bit fruity. Here in the interior of the car, it's quite basic, which is what you want for a track car. We've got full cloth everywhere. There isn't that much technology in here. It's got a proper handbrake, which is good because e-brakes aren't great for track cars, obviously. And I do love the steering wheel on it. Nice leather, perforated leather as well, steering wheel with a flat bottom. So it's already screaming race car to me. Obviously with this gearbox, it's a dual clutch, which might go wrong more often, but it does have a sport mode and you can change it manually from the gear lever. This car doesn't have paddles. There is a faster version of this car called a Bockengerer or Bockenegra or something, and we think that comes with paddles, and there are some versions of this car that come with paddles. So straight into the Ibiza. It feels quite small. which is good, I guess. You want it sort of hugging you. It is tiny, actually, isn't it? First time I've ever driven one. Straight away, I've gone to put my left leg on the brake pedal because I'm used to a clutch. I've never driven an Ibiza. I used to have a Polo, but never driven an Ibiza. Right, so we're gonna go drive to start with. Whoa, first impressions, it's quite light. So it's telling me that I'm in 4th gear already, 5th gear, and we're doing 30 miles an hour. So it's obviously, the gearbox is designed for a bit of economy, which is quite cool. The seats are really, they hug you loads. Yeah, I like it. It feels very small to me. I'd say the Mazda feels wider, but you sort of want something that feels quite small. Can I try Sport? What was that? 30 seconds. I want to try Sport.
Yeah, go for it.
Sport, ready. I like it. It sounds mega. You can hear that turbo. It's like gets a shift on this, doesn't it? It's got a lot of torque. You can definitely tell it's got more torque than the Mazda. Man with a dog, man with a dog. Slow down. The gear changes are so, it's classic DSG, just they are so fast. Like, that was a gear change. That was a gear change. So this is in 6th. How mental is that? 6th gear. And then what Ollie was saying is you just drop it down into Sport with the button, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And that's 3rd. 6th to 3rd like that. So this car, obviously being a small turbocharged engine, is very easy to make more power out of it. So there's lots of tuning companies. I think the main one that we've both spoken about is called Race Chip, where they can get, I'm not sure how much power, I could imagine they get 180 out of it quite easily, to chip this car to a higher power output, which you'll obviously get more torque with as well. There is a company called Dark Side Developments that have got a diesel one of these, 2-litre diesel, which is the same engine that's in my Golf, and they are running 294 brake horsepower in one of these. And this car is small, it's classed as a super mini. If you coupled a race chip on this car with no interior in it and strip a load of weight out of it, this would make an absolutely awesome track car. And it pulls hard, doesn't it? Oh. The guy in the Citroen van behind, I don't think you're going to be able to see him, has really been trying to keep up with us. Oh, it's the gearbox and the turbo. Right, the stopwatch is on. 0 to 60 in 3, 2, 1. That's 7.85 seconds. This car is 7.6 claim, so it's bang on.
Yes,
I like it. Can you see why I like it? Because it's proper little, like, zingy,
yeah,
peppy, and it's got aircon. My car doesn't even have aircon. I feel like I need to get some points back. I feel like we're gonna have to put the roof down. So obviously, as you can see, we're in the Mazda now. This is Ollie's first time ever in a Mazda. So roof is single button release, then pull this back at the same time.
Oh right, okay.
That's it. And then push it back.
Oh, hey, there we go.
Is that it? And then push it down.
Ah, and clip it in.
And then whack that bad boy up.
It's really short.
I love finding out what people think.
Brakes are sharp.
Yeah, the brakes.
Your creation.
Yeah, pretty good. Right, I'll take it all the way to 6.5. That's when it starts moving.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. weird way, it's almost like it's turbocharged. I think like it feels really sturdy, like compared to the as a sort of everyday car, which I know this isn't really. I mean, that's just trying to pull in third gear, and it takes a while. If you wanted to change that on it.
So the brakes aren't really warm yet, but as they get hotter, they get better and better.
It is fruity. I like that. as a like racy car, like as something that you'd want to zip around in.
Yeah.
The short travel of the gear lever, I think, and the short travel of the clutch, I think, is pretty handy. If I was driving this every day, I think that would make it a little bit trickier.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more on edge.
Yeah.
As two standard cars versus the Ibiza, this is a little bit more direct in terms of where I feel like the front end would go if you really wanted to throw it in.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're just, you know, we're not racing down here. It just feels more direct, but I think if you got it on a track and you were trying to lob it through a chicane or something like that, I think this would be a lot more direct in terms of where you want to point it. And whether that truly would translate to understeer or something, I'm not sure. But I feel like it probably would understeer more than this would.
Yeah. I've honestly never really had this car understeering, but it has got a race alignment set up on it, so that it's very aggressive on the front.
Brake test it. I mean, that was barely even standing on him, and it just barely
just stops, doesn't it?
Just tickled him, and it just really wants to stop. So yeah, I don't think this feels like a sharper race car, like something you would want to. But obviously, I think that reflects what you've done to it.
Yeah.
I don't think it would take much to get the
Ibiza to this level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think it would take a lot.
I agree with everything you said, by the way. I think it was a very good assessment. I think Ollie's bang on with his steering. I think he's bang on with the gearbox. This doesn't have as much torque as that, and obviously the gearbox in that, when you floor it, it drops down to like 3 gears below what you're in, and it just calls. Whereas this, you have to properly know which gear to be in to accelerate. It's much more driver involvement, as well as I think Ollie was bang on what he was saying about being direct. Obviously, front wheel drive versus rear wheel drive. This is going to be probably more pointy at the front, and that the Seat's probably going to wash out faster through understeer. But yeah, very good assessment overall. Okay guys, so that is it. Thank you very much for watching. I really love Ollie's car. I reckon with a bit of work you could make it into an absolute track weapon. Let me know what you would do to this car in the comments below. Let me know if you want to see any other material with this car or with these cars. As always, thank you very much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I hope to see you very soon. Cheers.